Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to discuss the difference between covert contracts and showing initiative. Now, another question from a listener. Again, thank you guys for these. Animus@animusempire.com. If you guys have a question, this one is on the difference, or what is the difference between creating a covert contract and showing initiative. I don't know if you've heard of a covert contract. If you've been around this channel a little bit, you probably have. It's when you do something so somebody else will do something nice for you in the future. So you're nice to somebody, not because you want to be nice to them. You help somebody out, not because you want to help them out, but because you think secretively, right? That's what makes it covert. You think covertly, secretively that they're going to do something nice for you in the future. Of course, they usually don't do something nice for you in the future, or not in the way that you really want. So this is a way that breeds resentment. This is how people get resentful of other people in relationships. And I think it's because the other person isn't nice, and that has nothing to do with it. It's because you weren't communicating very well. You were not communicating your needs very well. So you created this contract with somebody else covertly, and of course it didn't work out because the communication wasn't there. So this is unhealthy, right? This is a sure sign of codependent behavior. If you do this, that's codependent behavior. That's not a diagnosis of you, not saying you're codependent, but we're all codependent to varying degrees. And, one of those ways in which we're codependent is we're codependent to the degree that we create covert contracts, at least in part. So how is this different than showing initiative is this listener's question. And his intuition is, it seems like the same difference between being impulsive and being spontaneous. Yes. Go back and watch that video that I made. I think maybe I'll post it in the description. The difference between being impulsive and being spontaneous. Now on the surface, these two actions look exactly the same. Oh, he's so spontaneous. He's a fun guy. He's impulsive. He's a fun guy. So what could possibly be the difference? Well, the difference isn't how it looks on the surface. Although when you get good intuitively, you get good intuition about these situations and people's behavior. It is different. The one is impulsivity is desperate, and there's a element of sadness to it, while spontaneity, that's fun. So what's the difference between impulsiveness and spontaneity is the intention. When you're spontaneous, you are living in the moment. You're not thinking about the past. You're not thinking about the future. No worries about the future. No regrets about the past. That's the anxiety. And then no resentment about the past. Or no jealousy about the future. That would be the anger. So you manage your issues, at least for the time being. That's a sense of joy. And when you have that sense of joy and your issues are managed, you are spontaneous. That's how we all act when we're not weighed down by all of our emotional BS that we haven't handled. Impulsivity is when we seek to escape from issues that we have. So you're in a lot of pain when you're impulsive and you act, which is inevitably going to be in a destructive way because you're acting to avoid pain in your life, maybe resentment about the past, worries about the future. I mean, the rule of thumb is if it seems like you're being spontaneous, but there's a pile of unopened bills at home on your kitchen table, then you are being impulsive. And if it seems like you're being spontaneous and you get a bill in the mail and you open it up and pay it, within a reasonable time frame, then you're probably being spontaneous. So what's the difference here? Of course, it is intention. Intention above all else. Why are we doing the thing, the covert contract we do to get somebody else to do something? And it's not saying it's wrong to get somebody else to do something, to try to convince them. But if you're doing it in a covert, secretive way, then that is healthy. Showing initiative is you want to do something, you want to help somebody out, you want to help out the group, out the company, whatever you're a part of, you want to help them out because you want to do it. Because that's what you need to do to survive, not to survive, but to thrive and to flourish in this thing we call reality. You got to keep working. You got to be productive in some way. Everything is productive in some way. And you need to engage in that process to make yourself happier, because you're not going to be happy without it, and to make other people happier. It's good for you and it's good for somebody else. So it's all about intention. Same thing like we talked about a couple of weeks ago on this channel. Same thing when you move. Why are you moving? Right? That's the main question. People wonder all the time, oh, should I move? Shouldn't I move? Well, what's your intention, right? Is the intention because you want to move somewhere, because this new place where you want to move, it's going to have great opportunities. Maybe people there are going to be better fit for you culturally. I don't know. Or are there issues where you're living now and you're trying to escape from those issues? Or are there issues about you that you're trying to escape? Maybe your shyness, maybe your anxiety, and you think moving is going to somehow solve that. Are you trying to pursue pleasure, pursue a positive value, or are you trying to escape from a negative value? It's the same difference between suppression and repression. How do you tell the difference between suppression and repression? Suppression is the healthy, there's an emotional issue coming up for me right now. Now's not the right time to deal with it. So I'm going to put it on my psychological back burner, and I'll get to it at a healthier time. I'll talk with somebody about it. I'll talk with a therapist about it, or a close family member, whatever. Versus repression, which is, an emotion is coming up for me. It's reminding me of my weakness. It's reminding me of this sense of insecurity that I have about existence in general, and I can't even look at it properly. I am going to do whatever I can to do away with it completely, of course, until it arises in the future as some kind of neurotic behavior, obsessive thoughts, compulsive behavior. And this is where a lot of our, I don't know if a lot of our neurosis comes from. I'm not going to put a percentage on it, but, we get into trouble. People get into trouble because we get positive reinforcement for doing things that are ultimately damaging, that are ultimately the cause of some kind of neurosis. So a kid, right, he could be doing something for covert contract kind of reasons, but it looks like he's showing initiative. He's now being praised for, quote, showing initiative. He's not really showing initiative. He's creating a covert contract with, people, with adults in his surrounding. The implication there is he doesn't feel like he can communicate well with adults in his surrounding. So now he's being praised for creating that covert contract. Right? The adults don't know they're doing it, but that's what's going on, and this happens a lot. Kids get praised for being well-behaved, for being polite, for being courteous, and of course, being well-behaved, being polite, being courteous, those are all great things. But if the kid is doing it because he just wants approval, and it looks like politeness, it's not really politeness. He just wants approval. He wants people to like him. Well, now he's being praised for his approval-seeking behavior, right? That's how this can get dangerous. And I'm not blaming your parents or the environment you grew up in. This happens. So this is why these things are very tricky to tease apart. Am I showing initiative, or am I creating a covert contract with somebody? Same thing with being I guess helpful around the house. That's another example. Or being good at school, right? Kids get praised all the time for being good at school. Oh, you're so smart, you're good at school, this is so great. But really the kid's just doing it because he thinks that's what he should do. It's not what he really wants to do. And paradoxically, what happens? It's not paradoxical, but it seems paradoxical, is once the kid begins to mature into high school and in college, and once he realizes, wait, I'm just good at school because of anxiety. It's not even what I want to do. I'm describing my story here. This is not even what I want to do. And then you begin to manage your anxiety and overcome this existential dread you have. And then you start to do worse at school. I'm like, well, I don't care about this as much. I care to the extent that I want to learn it, but ultimately it's not that important to me because getting that praise isn't that helpful anymore. And we all get this. We all get this on some kind of fundamental level, that intention matters the most. You can do your utilitarian arguments, which is just your way of being philosophical, or way of non-philosophical people who can't really think abstractly. That's their way of being philosophical, right? It is to be a utilitarian and just measure the outcome of events. And it's the outcome that matters the most. But we all get that that's, outside of university classroom, those arguments just aren't real. Right, just the classic example of who would you rather want to watch over, babysit your kids? Somebody who committed vehicular manslaughter, somebody who actually killed somebody with their car, an accident, vehicular manslaughter, but somebody's dead because they're a bad driver, whatever happened, or somebody who molested a child. right? But didn't kill that child. Now you can look at that and go, well, the vehicular manslaughter is worse because somebody is dead. I mean, molesting a child, that's terrible, but you'd rather, at least that kid's alive, right? I mean, it's going to have issues now and a bunch of other, but at least he's alive. But no, of course not, right? Who would you rather watch your kid? That's obvious. Why? Because of the intention. The outcome, we could say, is worse, arguably. Right? There's a lot of nuance here, but the outcome is worse, arguably, in the vehicular manslaughter because somebody's dead. But obviously, we think the child molester, put him in jail, rehabilitate him. That's my unpopular opinion. He needs rehabilitation, right? He needs a lot of therapy if he's a pedophile, but at least remove him from society if he's going to be dangerous to a child. Intention matters the most. Intention über alles, and that is true when it comes to something like who you want to babysit your kids, but it also matters the most when it comes to analyzing your own behavior. And you're asking yourself, am I showing initiative or am I creating a covert contract? What's my intention? Why do I want to move to this different city? Is it because I really want to move there, or am I trying to escape from some existential strife here in this city? It's not really anything with the city. It's just my issues projected out onto the city. And I will leave it there. Thank you guys for watching. We do free consultations here. If you want to, do the emotional regulatory work, regulate your emotions, become aware of your emotions so that you can decipher in the moment exactly what the intention behind your action is. We can get our discernment into our own behavior. We can make it this powerful, but it's going to take being aware of our emotions, being aware of our past, how that informs who we are now. Not to blame it, but to take responsibility so we can go on to make the changes we need to make. So yeah, we do free consultations, animusempire.com/schedule. Thank you guys. I'll leave it there. And always remember that when you're figuring out whether your actions are healthy, it always helps to look at your intentions.